Someone please take this subscription away from me. Hey guys, what's up? It's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today, as I am filming this is January 31st. This is going to be my monthly reading wrap-up. I read 20 books this month. Currently, I'm in the process of reading 3 or 4 books, so I might finish 1 or 2 of them before midnight tonight. We'll see. But either way, as of right now, I have read 20 books for the month of January. Okay, so starting us off for the new year, I went with a Good Girls Guide to Murder trilogy. And this was so much fun. I'm honestly glad that I decided to start the new year with this because it was kind of refreshing, taking a break from a romance. Now, don't get me wrong, these have a side of romance, which I'm not complaining about. That is just like the extraness that I need. But this was really fun to read. Like I said, what I loved about it was that the chapters alternate between like regular chapters and then like police interviews, and there's text messages and emails. Like there's a whole thing to go through. And what I loved about these was that it really gave me like Pretty Little Liars-esque vibes, which I'm totally fine with. I was a junior in high school when Pretty Little Liars premiered, so yes, I wasted a lot of my life with that show. And yeah, if you know the ending, you're with me. You probably wasted a lot of your years of your life on that. But anyway, I read that. So this one I rated a 4 out of 5. It was fun. I loved it. And then I read Good Girl, Bad Blood. This, was also a really fun one. It did not have that typical like second book sophomore slump that some trilogies do. This book was not a murder mystery like the first one. This one was a missing persons, so the stakes were a lot higher, which I really liked, so I felt like it was a lot more intense when you were reading it. This one also had the same format as this one with alternating between the chapters and like police interviews and stuff like that. And then wrapping up the trilogy is As Good as Dead. This one I also loved. Now, however, I loved the first half of this book way more than the second. The second half turned into something else. I'm not going to talk about it because it's going to go into spoilers. But basically, it left me at the end of the book stewing a lot and wondering how I felt about it as a whole. However, what I appreciated about this trilogy was that all 3 mysteries in all 3 books, they all intertwine with each other and the entire story comes full circle. So I really loved that. And overall, this whole trilogy was a 4 out of 5 for me. Okay, and then after that, I read From Lukov with Love, and as you can see, I loved this book. Now, this was the 5th Mariana Zapata book I have read, and out of the 5 I have read, it is top 3. I think number 2, Walla Winnipeg, is still gonna be like top tier for me, but I loved this book. This one is blowing up everywhere right now. I'm sure a lot of people read this for the month of January. There's not much to say about it. It's just enemies to lovers. It's a sports romance, figure skating, 5 out of 5. I loved it. Now, after I read From Lukov with Love, this was very early thinking, but I really honestly thought that that was going to be my top read of January. And then I read Credence. Now, I already posted a video review of Credence, and where I basically ramble on and on about how much I love this book. This was a 5 out of 5. This is the top book that I read this month. I'm not going to say much about it, like I said, because I posted a video about it, and I really don't want to talk too much about it, or you're going to get spoilers because you're going to know like who I loved most about it. But yes, this, there are 3 love interests in there. There's 1 female. They're isolated in a cabin in the snow. A lot of spicy things happen. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go too much into this, but this was a 5 out of 5. I loved the ending. I loved who she picked. Yeah. And this is very early thinking with it only being January, but I think this very well could go in my top 10 reads of 2022. Penelope Douglas is my favorite author, and once again, Penelope just does an outstanding job. Okay, so after I read Credence, I went on this really terrible, horrible Kindle binge where I didn't stop. And I just want to thank Mary from More to Mary for this binge, because it was because of her channel where I found a lot of these books, and like I said, once I started, I just couldn't stop. So yeah. Okay, and I also want to start by saying that I am a very, very big dark romance reader. A lot of the stuff I read is very dark. So please look up trigger warnings, and like I said, a lot of these books are not for the faintest of heart, so please keep that in mind. Okay, so the first book I read was Sicko by M.O. Jones, and Mary always talks about this as one of her favorite standalone books of all time. Now this is taboo. It's a foster sibling romance, so please keep in mind these people are not actually blood related, but they did grow up together. There why I liked this book was it had quite the plot going on other than the romance. I mean, it was a page turner. I finished it in just one night. It was so good, but definitely look up trigger warnings for Sicko. And then after that, I read Dr. Stanton by T.L. Swan. This book starts off in Vegas, and our two leading characters meet, and they basically have an incredible one-night stand. They really fall for each other. He asks for her phone number. Something happens the very next day where he loses his phone. He doesn't have any way of contacting her. That is that. Then 5 years pass. She's moved on with her life. She was previously engaged, had a fiance. She's had a kid since then, but she moves to California and she becomes a medical intern under none other than Dr. Stanton. So that's where you're gonna pick up. I really enjoyed this book. This book did leave me really frustrated a lot of the times with the male. He did a lot of things that kind of pissed me off, but that's also what made it an enjoyable read, just the angry feelings you feel. But yes, I rated that one, I think, a 3 out of 5, just because I had a few issues with the writing style and everything, but overall it was a fun book to read. Okay, and then I read the Deviant King trilogy, and that is a private school bully romance, and it takes place in London, so that was a fun time. Now also, this is one of those ones that has quite the side plot going on other than the romance. There's this whole thing where you're trying to figure out events that happened in the past. It was a really good one. You had to read all 3 books to get the full picture. It's not a companion novel trilogy. It is a trilogy following the same couple, and yeah, it's not insta-love. There's a whole lot going on. I don't want to go too much into it, but those books are Deviant King, Steel Princess, and Twisted Kingdom. And please look up trigger warnings for those ones as well. Okay, and then I took a little bit of a side detour from my dark romance kick, and I read Sweet Soul by Tilly Cole. Now, this was the first book I have ever read by Tilly Cole. I have not read 1,000 Blood Kisses yet. I don't know if I'm ever going to. I don't like books that don't have happy endings, so... But anyway, Sweet Soul, ironically, is the 5th book in a companion novel series, but you do not need to read the other 4 to understand what's going on. This was a beautiful story. It was heartbreaking. It made you tear up, but it does have a happy ending. So it follows Levi. Levi is a college football player who plays for the University of Washington, which I was already really excited about because I live in Washington State and the Huskies are my college team. I was so excited about that. And then Levi lives with his older brother who plays football for the Seattle Seahawks, which is my favorite NFL team. So already this book was set up amazingly. So anyway, Levi is, he's your good guy, main male character. He's very sweet. He's a virgin. He's never even kissed a girl when this book picks up. He's just very focused on school, football. He lost his mother as a teenager, and it just really hit him hard. So anyway, when the book picks up, he goes into the locker room after practice and he notices a homeless girl is going through his bag and steals his wallet. So he runs after her to try to catch up with her. He loses sight of her, and that's that. So later that night, he ends up walking down the streets of downtown Seattle, and he comes across a female being assaulted in an alleyway. And he stops this from happening just in time, but he notices that it is in fact the girl who stole his wallet. And right away, he feels so bad for her. He goes to a shop and he gets her some blankets and some new hoodies and stuff, and he goes and gets her coffee and some hot sandwiches, and he's sitting with her and he's trying to get her attention, and she is just not saying a thing to him at all. And you later find out that she is deaf. And that's all I'm going to say about the story. That's literally the first few chapters that's setting everything up. Like I said, it was a beautiful story. These two characters, oh, your heart just breaks reading it. But I loved it. This was a 5 out of 5 for me. Also free on KU. Okay, then I read The Ritual. This was also a 5 out of 5. This came out of left field. I was not expecting this book, and I am glad that I found it because it really gave me Devil's Night series vibes, and if I have mentioned on this channel, the Devil's Night series is like my favorite series of all time right now, and this book really gave me those vibes. Okay, so The Ritual has massive trigger warnings, and maybe out of all of the books I'm talking about, this probably has the most trigger warnings. Maybe not, I don't know, but it has big trigger warnings, so please look those up before reading. Okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this book as best as I can, but basically, this is a college romance, and it takes place at, it's like called Barrington University or something, and it's this college where basically rich elite send their children to go. And at this college, there is this society, and it's for men, and they have to prove themselves the 4 years that they're there. And then their senior year, they get to choose a female, and the female has to be on a list. And once they choose their female, like, is theirs. They belong to them for the remainder of senior year. And there's a lot more to it. So our male is Riot, and our female is Brexley. And like I said, I don't want to go too much into this because I really think you need to go in blind because there's a lot to it. But there's this amazing side plot. Like I said, it really, really gave me Devil's Night vibes because Devil's Night to me had a really good side plot going on. So yeah, but like I said, this was a 5 out of 5 for me. I read it on KU, and I want to buy the physical copy and annotate it. That was how much I liked it, so yeah. Okay, and then after that I read the first 2 books in the Hades Hellbent series. This is also by Tilly Cole. These were heavy books, and I think there's like 8 or 9 in the series. I only read the first 2 because they were heavy. They were a lot, and I want to continue on, but like I said, I needed to take a break. These are also massive on the trigger warnings. These are going to cover a very overly religious cult that in the first book, our female main character has just escaped from. And then the men in these series, they are part of a motorcycle club gang. And like, I don't want to go too much into it without spoiling it, but there are some really dark topics. The females in these books, they really go through some stuff, because in the second book, the female has also escaped from the same overly religious cult. So like I said, they are just very, very heavy. Look up trigger warnings. These books are not going to be for the faintest of hearts. So, but I did rate them both 4 out of 5. I really liked them. I liked the second one more than the first one. I adored the couple in the second book, Kai and Lila. They were just adorable. So, yeah. And then I read The Silent Waters, and that is the 3rd book in the Elements series, I think. Now, these are... It's a series, but they're not companion novel series, because none of the couples in these books like have ever met the other couples. The only reason that this is a series is because they all have to do with elements. So I read the first book back in October, and it was The Air We Breathe, or The Air He Breathes, and I haven't read the second one yet. But the third one is The Silent Waters, I think. So this one is a Friends to Lovers, and we start off in the past with Maggie and Brooks, and they're 10 years old. Maggie has the hugest crush on Brooks, and one day she just kisses him, and he says, hey, let's keep kissing. I really, really like this. And then Maggie tells him, hey, we're gonna get married, and he just says, okay. So she is going to set up for their little wedding in the woods, and he's an hour late, and she thinks that he's abandoned her, when in reality he's back at his house looking for the perfect tie to not upset her. It was adorable. But anyway, she's upset, and she goes looking for him, and she witnesses something very traumatizing, and it affects her for the rest of her life, to the point where after that night she becomes a selective mute, and she does not speak again. So then the book flashes forward to the present. Brooks and Maggie are both seniors in high school. They are 18. Since this incident when they were 10, Maggie has dropped out of school. She is homeschooled. She has not physically left her house. Her parents have doctors come visit her, therapists, all of that. She's just totally withdrawn and isolated, and Brooks is the only person that sees her as a person, and he comes to see her every day. They listen to music. He brings her books. It's a beautiful story. This one, I loved the idea and the setup, and then halfway through it just kind of lost me. It had a lot of unnecessary time jumps, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but I really feel like Maggie's problem could have been resolved in a lot better ways. Yeah. I'm not going to go too much into that. I had my own gripes about it. You might love it. Yeah, so that was The Silent Waters. And then finally, taking a break from my very long KU stretch, I finally got around to Savage Lands. I had been purposely holding off on this one because a friend of mine had told me that you're going to want to obtain all of the other books before you start, because it does end in a cliffhanger, which it does. Yeah. So this is a low fantasy book, so it takes place like in the modern world, but there are fae and everything like that. I'm not going to go too much into this because I feel like you should go in blind. I didn't know a lot about this series, and the only thing I knew about it was somebody said it takes place in a prison and there's a lot of tension and angst, and I'm like, oh, okay, sign me up. And that was literally all I knew going into it, and yeah, so this was a 4 out of 5 for me, and the only reason I didn't do a 5 out of 5 was because I thought there was a little bit of slow setup, and I felt like it took a little while to get to our 2 leading characters actually speaking to each other. But in the end, I get why that is, because their romance is gonna be all of these books, and obviously you don't want that going right away in the first book, because then that is an insta love, and then that's just an insta don't for me. So this was a 4 out of 5. I can't wait to continue on with the series. Okay, and then after Savage Lands, I hit like this awful reading slump. Nothing was doing it for me. Nothing was exciting me. So I had just gotten done rewatching all the Harry Potter movies with my family. My kids had never seen them, so we watched them all in order. It was a lot of fun, and I got to thinking it has been a very, very good hot minute since I've read the series. And when I say a hot minute, I mean like when the books first came out. So I read Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, not the Sorcerer's Stone, because I have my Pretty Ravenclaw editions, and these editions go with the Philosopher's Stone, which the rest of the world goes off of. And yet, you know, the US here, we think we're special or something. We can't go off original text. I don't know. Anyway, so I read the Philosopher's Stone. It was so much fun. I had completely forgotten that there are characters in the books that never even made it to the movies, and they had kind of a big role in the books. I also forgot that Ron Weasley is a totally different character in the books. Like, and by that I mean he's a lot more badass. They gave a lot of Hermione's lines in the movies. Those were Ron's in the books, so yeah. But this was a 5 out of 5. It was fun. I had a good time. It definitely helped with my reading slump. And then I read The Games We Play on KU. There's not much to say about this one. This is like a 90-page novella. Incredibly spicy. Yeah. I rated this a 3 out of 5. I never really rate novellas a 5 out of 5. I don't really know how to rate them, to be honest, because they're not like a full novel, but I had fun reading this. It was a good time. Yeah. And then I read Hunting Adeline. This was a new release that just came out last week. This was in my top anticipated releases of 2022. I am not gonna really talk much about this because this is the second book in a duology series. The first book, Haunting Adeline, came out last fall, and it ends on a very, very big cliffhanger. That is all I'm going to say. It's a stalker romance. Very big trigger warnings. I think the book was originally removed from KU, and then it got put back on there. So, like, that's how dark it was. But I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm not going to go into the plot of Hunting Adeline because it's going to totally give away the spoilers for Haunting Adeline. But just know, massive trigger warnings. Look them up. Once again, this is a series that is not for the faintest of heart. So if you do not like dark romance, just don't even bother with these books. And then just last night, I finished The Invitation by V.I. Keeland. I hope I said that right. This was another fun one. The blurb doesn't really give much away of the story. It literally just tells you what happens in the first chapter, nothing after that, which I really appreciated. It's another one of those that you don't really know what to expect. So basically, our leading lady, what was her name? I just finished. Oh my god, that's so embarrassing. Stella. Her name is Stella. So Stella crashes a wedding of her former roommate. She got the invitation in the mail. Her roommate didn't live there anymore. So she and her best friend crashed the wedding. And at the wedding, she meets the best man, who is also the brother of the bride. They flirt, they hit it off, but after speaking for a while, he figures out she is not who she says she is, and she is not supposed to be there. So he kind of does a whole thing with her where he makes her go up on stage and does a speech to see if she's gutsy enough to admit she's not supposed to be there. She does it, and then she hightails it out of there, and that's the end of that. And then through circumstances, they end up working with each other later on. So this is going to be kind of a workplace romance. A little bit of enemies to lovers because there's a lot of banter between the two. This is single parent trope. Huxley, the guy, he is a single father, so I loved that about him. This was a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this book. It had some great spice in here, so yeah. Alright, so that is going to do it for my January wrap up. These were all of the physical books that I read. I read a lot more on KU. Yeah, that subscription probably, it was not the best decision for me in hindsight. But anyways, I hope you all had a happy reading month. I hope everybody's first month of the year was a great start to reading. Drop some recs down below. I am always looking for new recommendations throughout the rest of the year. I already have an idea of some stuff I want to read for February, but if there's anything you think I might like I said, drop it down below. Alright guys, that's gonna do it. I'll see you next time. Bye!